Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, hymn 347 in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screen. Gather the Spirit. Thank you for that extra verse. Please be seated.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for singing for another moment while the ministers got all situated. I'm Reverend Daniel Trollinger, Executive Minister here. And welcome to this Sunday service of the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Durham, North Carolina. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race or gender identity, and whomever you love. And wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. If you're new to this community or visiting for the first or second time, we invite you to rise in body or spirit so we may give you a warm ERUUF welcome. If you're watching on the live stream, please introduce yourself in the chat box. Thank you for choosing to spend your Sunday morning with us. If you have children or youth with you, they are welcome to join one of our religious exploration classes as the children are sung out after the time for all ages. Fellowship hour with tabling and coffee is in the fellowship hall right after service. Inquirers class will not be meeting this morning. And on Sunday, September 3rd, in 2 weeks, we will be going to 2 services at 9 and 11. See e-news for more details. Special music today is provided by Brasissimo. Now would be a good time to turn off any devices that you have. So let's take a moment and center. Open to the gifts of this day. And let us begin.
Thank you so very much. That was delightful. Really appreciated that.
And if it is true we are alone together. The way blades of grass are alone but exist as a field.
Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us, the wild thrum that unites us, an inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity.
Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood.
Just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony.
Alone as we are, our small voices weave into the one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the one-way, infinite story of what it is to be alive.
As we light our chalice this morning, may we be reminded that when we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone. We are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all the other dust, the dust that makes the world. Let us now sing together. Wendy will lead us.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 318, We Would Be One, in your gray hymnal, and the lyrics are also on the screen. And greet your neighbor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, you already know what to do. Come on down. I'm inviting our smallest and our mediumest and our largest and our children at heart to come on down for our time for all ages. Oh my gosh, you came right up to the front. Well, hello, and hello, and hello to you. Oh my gosh. Oh, come on down. Come on down. I see a few other people. You can come if you would like to. You are not required, but you are welcome. So today's service is all about why do we come together? Like, why do we do these things together that we do on Sundays? And, you know, we're going to do something together actually in a little bit in RE, in a religious exploration over there. So it'll be exciting. I'm excited for it. It actually gets referenced in the book a few times. This book is called Together. It is about the things that we do, not by ourselves, but together. There we go. Waiting for the cue. I'm like, there's a voice somewhere. It will show up. So together, okay. One star shines as distant light. Do you see this tiny, tiny star here? Very tiny. It's kind of hard, even hard to see up there. You can't see it? It's very hard to see. You can see it up there? Oh, yeah. I just got new glasses this week, so I can kind of see it too. Well, I have to look out the bottom of my glasses to see it now. And when our stars shine together, they make our galaxy. So when a whole bunch of stars get together, they make a new thing. It's not just one star, it's a whole galaxy of stars. One bee wanders through my garden. Now, is anybody here afraid of bees? No, you're not afraid of bees. You might be a little afraid of bees. What? You are? Yeah. See, I don't know. I'm a little afraid of bees. You know, I get around a bee. It's like, oh, don't want to get stung. But they do really amazing things in the world, too. And when you get a whole bunch of them together, when bees work together, they are a colony. And I was doing a little research. I won't tell you all about it, but you would be amazed at the things bees do for each other, at the ways they work together. I didn't know the half of it. They do some really neat things for each other. One bird calls into the wind. Do birds make a lot of sound? Yeah, when they make sound, it can be very noisy. I think some of our children at heart are participating today. And when birds call together, they make a cacophony. Have you heard the word cacophony before? It is a fairly long word. It is a word for a lot of sound. I think the children at heart might be even more excited for this story. So when a bunch get together, we also get to have a lot of fun. One tree grows toward the sun. One tree alone, it doesn't make a lot of shade, does it? Yeah, not by itself. And when trees grow together, they make a canopy. And that's a word for like when a lot of trees, what? Yeah, canopies are in the jungle, and it's like when you have like so many trees next to each other and so many leaves, you just get shade all over the place.
Rainforest.
Oh yeah, like a rainforest, like a jungle, yes. I like rainforests too. I think I might be a little warm there, but I like that they exist, and I want them to keep being there.
I like tigers.
You like tigers, I love it. One voice sings a tender song. Can one voice singing alone be beautiful?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed it can.
I like singing.
You like singing? Well, you're going to have a good time today, I think. And when voices sing together, they make harmony. Can a whole bunch of voices together sound good? Yeah. They sound different than one voice, though. One instrument plays an unforgettable beat. What type of instrument is that? Drum, yeah. I think there's a name for that specific type of drum, but I'd have to look it up. And when instruments play together, they are a symphony. Now, I will say, usually I've heard this type of group of instruments called a drum circle, I think. But also a group of instruments together can be called a symphony. People come together to play music and sing music, create beautiful things. One mountain rises to a mighty peak.
I like volcanoes.
You like volcanoes?
I like ice mountains.
Oh, yeah. And when mountains rise together, they are majesty. You get a whole beautiful field of mountains.
I like snow.
If you like snow, you might be living in the wrong place. I miss some snow myself. One wave, you like surfing? One wave is a surfer's dream. And when waves move together, they are an endless sea. And see, you see some people here saying, oh, we don't want oil in these seas. Because, oil in your water, oil in your oceans is not a good thing. One of us can make a home. And when we come together, we are family. And sometimes people are family just with the people they're related to, and sometimes people are family with a much bigger group than people they're related to. One of us can love with all our heart. And when we love together, we build community. And that's part of what we try to do here. We try and build community. We try and put a lot of love out there, all of us doing it. One of us can speak up for justice, and one person can do that alone. But what happens when a whole bunch of people do it? And when we speak up together, we create a world of possibility. So these are just a few of the reasons we come together, and now we get to continue our being together and making something together in religious exploration, where we're going to play some games, and I think we get to sing together as a community today, too, for some of that time. So I'm very excited about that. So with that, we shall be off. See you later.
In the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we gather today to celebrate and to remember. We celebrate the gift of fellowship, all of us, just as we are, welcoming and accepting, gathering as one heart in our shared humanity. We celebrate the gift of coming together as a vibrant, diverse, engaged community where spirits are nourished and love finds action. We celebrate the gift of time, this precious moment. A chance to pause, reflect, and appreciate what is right here, right now. And we gather today to remember. We remember our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what it is to be alive. We remember the power of words to inspire, encourage, and heal. We remember the many ways we can find a sense of belonging here, a place that calls us to be a visible force for justice, equity, and compassion in our community as we live our UU values. And as a people who care for one another, we lift up all of our prayers and blessings. We hold in our hearts people all the world over who have been forgotten, who have been marginalized, who are in crisis and may have lost hope. We hold in our hearts all those in our community and in our own families who suffer, who mourn, who face the everyday difficulties of life. We hold in our hearts the living and breathing earth, that we may work together to support earth and climate justice. And in this time of meditation and prayer, I invite you to breathe into your body and being these words: you are welcome here. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, however you got here, you are loved and accepted just as you are. If this is your first time, or if you've been coming for years, in this room or on the live stream, your presence is felt and absolutely necessary to create this beloved community. And this sacred belonging, we breathe in the silence together. Breathe in peace and breathe out love. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be.
I see friends shaking hands, saying, "How do you do?" They're really saying, "I love you." And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Thank you. Thank you. So, the most iconic coffee jingle in the history of television must be, and you know it, the best part of waking up is what? Folgers in your cup. You got it. You got it. Disgusting stuff. But I get it. Instant coffee. The aroma fills your home. You know, you can even get those coffee makers with the timers that will start to brew before your eyelids open. Nowadays, you can get really good quality beans, a grinder. You can brew an excellent drip, espresso, or my preference, a pour-over in your very own home. The pour-over, it slows me down. You know, the boiling of the water, the folding of the filter, getting the right grind on the beans and watching the grounds bloom on the first pour. It's a whole thing, a solo practice, a ritual. Now, although I love my coffee in solitude, there's something even more magical about getting up and making a pilgrimage to the coffee shop. You walk in, and before you even look up, you hear, "Good morning, Johann. Would you like your usual?" Now, let me go back. While cranking through my undergraduate studies, I started drinking the semblance of coffee at the mega church of coffee's Starbucks. Really sweet stuff like frappuccinos and flavored lattes. One fall, I attempted to work at a Starbucks. However, I turned in my notice after Santa Claus set up his station right outside the store. The queue stretched its way around the block until the scariest kind of customer began to show up at my counter. Parents trying to escape their kids at Christmas. But what impressed me about Starbucks, whether realized or not, was their mission statement. With every cup, with every conversation, with every community, we nurture the limitless possibilities of human connection. From the 1600s, when the first coffee houses in Yemen were competing with mosque for attendance, to the first wave of coffee houses in England a century later, sultans and kings sought to ban coffee houses on pain of death for fear that people would gather together, sober, and talk. When you go to a coffee house, you are not submitting to some particular creed or political doctrine. Historically, you go to connect, learn, and grow. Coined as penny universities, you would walk into a coffee house, throw down some writing or poetry, and ask, "What news have you?" Today, we compete with the monarchies of screens and laptops. My dream coffee shop is one in which the atmosphere, curated with love, the diversity of beans sourced from fair trade markets, the quality coffee well crafted with a bit of latte art, that demands us to look up and around. Turning to the barista with a smile and looking into the eyes of a neighbor asking, "What news have you?" Until authoritarians and fundamentalists seek to shut us down. But why we gather here at ERUUF may be a similar vein to the mission of many coffee houses and social movements, to be transformed as we nurture the limitless possibilities of human connection. I gather to experience this with you. Our limitless possibilities are seeded by the deep sense of belonging and the freedom that flows from that belonging. Ashe.
Who knew, Johann? I did not know all of those things about coffee. When I was a little girl, I was what I today call a Y child. Not Gen Y, but a WHY child. I'd ask a question of an adult and would inevitably meet their answer with, "But why?" And whatever their response, I'd meet it again with the same question. I quickly learned that most adults, at least back in those days, with the exception of my parents, did not appreciate a young child questioning their responses. But my parents did try. And when he grew weary of my questions, my father would send me off to ask your mother. So one day I approached her with my two greatest why questions of all time. I asked her, why did God make me? And why was I here? Hearty soul that she is, my mother dared to attempt an answer. But boy, did I take her down a rabbit hole of why. Until she finally said, there are some things we are just not supposed to know. And seeing the look upon my face, which I strongly suspect was one of indignation because I can still feel it in my body right now, my mother halted the formation of the words upon my lips by saying, don't ask me any more questions. There are just some things we don't have the answer to because we're probably just not supposed to know. I don't recall asking my mother many why questions after that day because it had not occurred to me prior to then that there were things that she or any of us were not supposed to know. Why? Though I didn't ask it aloud, of course, I pondered her response for a long while, and it fueled my curiosity about the mystery of existence and the supposed being who created us all, it all. Who I was not allowed to ask the ultimate question of, who supposedly didn't want us to have an answer. And my ongoing, decades-long search ultimately led me right here, which I find absolutely perfect because we UUs are quite fond of saying, we have questions for your answers. I'll get back to that in a moment. This past spring, Reverend Arvid Straube, ERUUF's Minister Emeritus, visited us from California, where he now lives, quite eager to share a talk based on the results of the largest ever survey conducted of religious communities in the United States. It was developed by Hartford Seminary and included over 15,000 congregations from 80 different denominations and faith traditions: Christian, Muslim, Mormon, Baptist, Buddhist, UU, Baha'i, and so on. The title of Arvid's talk was The Death and Resurrection of Unitarian Universalism, based upon the findings of the Hartford study, which found that 2/3 of the congregations in the United States were in decline, most especially the smallest ones. As a result, Arvid had concluded that if current trends continue, by 2035, 12 years from now, 2/3 of our UU congregations would be gone. Though according to the study, larger congregations like ours were typically doing well, which is actually quite true for us. A few weeks later, Arvid and I participated on a panel for the UU Retired Ministers Association about the future of our congregations and congregational life. We were joined by UU chaplain and Dr. Elias Ortega, the president of our UU seminary, Meadville Lombard. I frankly found a lot of what was being shared to be quite disappointing, as everyone related stories about the negative news of churches and ministries in decline. I found I could not agree. Everything I shared about the experience here at ERUUF was opposite. The energy, the vitality, our stable finances, and general growth in numbers, even among younger people, were all the hallmarks of a congregation headed in the right direction. Yet afterward, despite what appeared as ERUUF's well-being, I was left with many questions. Just because we were okay now, might we one day become one of those declining congregations? What if in the future the markers of a thriving congregation changed, or what if we changed? These were not questions for the sake of our continued growth in numbers of people or finances or for ego satisfaction. I found, after I considered all the top layer aspects of our existence as a community, our finances, our staffing, our buildings and grounds, all the programming we might create, I found a fundamental and favorite question of my young child self underlying it all. Why? I wanted to know, why are we here? And most particularly, collectively and individually, why do we choose to gather here at ERUUF? Why do we want this community to exist, and what is our response to its existence? And in the largest sense, why do humans gather at all? As I suspected, an answer to my other questions might be found in this. So we here at ERUUF might point to our mission to transform lives by building a free and inclusive covenantal religious community of spirit, service, justice, and love. But the real nature of my question is beyond a mission statement that can be revised or changed at any point in the future. You see, I've been sensing that we, not only at ERUUF, but everywhere, are at a time in our evolution of religious and spiritual life when something new wants to emerge, is emerging, whether we want it to or not. Whether initiated by our global context and the impacts of climate change finally getting people's attention, or in these United States as we wrestle with discord, divisiveness, threats to democracy, and an unresolved history. Or in the more specific context of how our UU denomination is changing and evolving, just as other denominations and religious communities are also changing and evolving. I went on my summer break holding these thoughts in my heart and mind, pondering them while in groups of people like my family, with writers, in a park or museum listening to music with hundreds of people, at General Assembly, our GA General Assembly with thousands of UUs, while meditating with a small group on a mountain, while paddling up a river, or while in spaces online. As I was present to what was happening during all those shared moments, I was also aware of a deeper wondering within about why were people gathering in all these places to begin with. Most of us could have engaged in any of those activities as lone individuals, but we each instead chose to gather with others. As poet Rosemary Watala Tromer says, if it's true we are alone together. The way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. The earliest humans gathered in communities of 50 to 100 people, most likely for simple survival. Our ancestors existed in hunter-gatherer communities which began 200,000 years ago, far longer than we have existed in the societies we have now, which did not begin until 12,000 years ago with the beginnings of farming and agriculture. There's clear evidence that early humans performed the ceremonial burial of the dead as early as 100,000 years ago, and it was likely these rituals concerning death, as well as rituals honoring the spirits of ancestors, both of which have taken place in cultures all around the world, that some scholars believe were the first semblances of religious belief and thought. So perhaps rather than asking, why am I here, those early ancestors were wondering, why did they go? Or where did they go? Studies indicate that the way these early ancestors lived remains deeply embedded in our brain, our bodies, and our behaviors to this very day. In the religious world of any community, human beings of the past, as well as we today, have considered some events, times, places, and situations to be filled with particular meaning, to be considered sacred, simply because they don't fall within the everyday ordinariness of life. And this is no matter what people have believed. These sacred times and places magnify the values of a community, and so people have gathered to recognize them. It could be a community, a commonly held time of what we in our culture might call a Sabbath, or certain other festivals, holidays, and communal rituals. Our ingathering water ceremony next week would be considered such a ritual. Be sure to bring your water. The coming Jewish high holy days would be sacred time, as would be a pagan celebration of the coming vernal equinox. And those of us who consider ourselves mostly non-religious still gather, as our ancestors once did, for rites of passage rituals that mark the major transitions of life, birth and birthdays. A young person's coming of age into the adult community, a change in social status such as marriage, and of course, death. Religious beliefs define a world and are pretty serious business within a particular group. Such beliefs and rituals are really difficult to change, have most often been homogenous, and if you didn't hold to them for whatever reason, you were cast out or perhaps even killed. This is true even today. In Unitarian history, with its Christian roots, folks got into trouble when they professed to not find biblical grounding for the belief in the Trinity of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, because these Unitarian forebears professed the belief in the unity or oneness of God. Some lost their lives as a result. Universalists decried a doctrine of damnation and instead declared that we all are saved. We came from God and returned to God. We need not prove ourselves worthy of God because we already are. Both these beliefs were considered heretical among the Christians of their time in Europe and eventually here in the United States as well. As we Unitarian Universalists have evolved in our understanding over time, we've become more progressive, opening our circle wider and wider still until we now have an even broader sense of who we are, and I suspect Indeed, I hope that will continue because it seems so core to who we are. Moving beyond Christianity, we have come to recognize at least 6 sources of our beliefs, which I'm going to name here because when you think about it, I think it's quite stunning that we would even attempt this at all in one community. The first is the direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures. The second are the words and deeds of prophetic women and men, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Third are the wisdom from the world's religions, which inspire us in our ethical and spiritual life. And fourth are Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. And fifth are humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of both the mind and the spirit. And 6 are the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. In all of this, we are striving for religious pluralism as we gather, sitting next to one another, believing many different things. It is stunning. And we often find difficulty in living it out. But it is what we strive for and aspire to in the better nature of ourselves. Last year, as each Sunday morning came, and as we came out of the pandemic, and on rainy days and holiday weekends, I would wonder aloud to the staff whether anyone would actually be here. We were coming out of significant change. And then the sanctuary would slowly begin to fill. I have to say, I had the same wondering this morning, but you all got here. I want to say that we're changing the liturgy, so don't come late when we come to 2 services. Hint, hint. All of this left me joyful because I've been inspired by your tenacity and also a bit curious. And so I have some why questions for you to ponder. I am still that little girl. Why are you here? Why do you choose to gather at ERUUF? And believe me, I am so very happy that you are here. But the importance of deeply understanding why you gather here speaks to your underlying need, your purpose in being here, and your vision for what you might co-create with this community, because that is ultimately how your why becomes realized, because we all do this together. It is in our encounter with these questions, both those singular to who we are, as well as the questions we might hold more broadly as a community, that hold at least 2 reasons why I believe we gather in sacred time and sacred space. First, to hold open a space that allows those of us who gather, whether we are already members of this community or you who have entered this space for the very first time, to each experience a sense of interconnection, our interconnection, that while you might come into this circle alone, you are not alone, because if it's true we are alone together, the way blades of grass are alone but exist as a field. Second, to support you, on your spiritual journey and your exploration and search for truth and meaning. And that, too, is stunning. Because rather than me telling you what to believe, what you must believe, as occurs in other communities, my role is to hold open a space within which you might explore your beliefs. And while this might sound fairly simple, it offers challenges for us both. I get to stand here and try to talk to all of you who are holding many different beliefs. And you have the challenge of commitment and the challenge of focus. To not treat a search for truth and meaning as a consumerist pursuit, as if we are visiting a salad bar of religious belief. It is a huge responsibility to engage ourselves in an authentic search for truth and meaning. And for those of you, and some of you are sitting here now, who have already put in good time, perhaps decades, and have built this place into what we who come along later, who have come along later, now enjoy so well, perhaps you might ask yourselves, I'm looking at Georgie and Redford and Virginia and some others here in this room. You might ask yourselves whether your why has changed. I suspect it has evolved. But what is it today? Perhaps your why might inspire others as you have created a legacy here already. And you see people being welcomed into this community, into this space in which you have played a role in building, in which you have created so very much. And there was so very much that drew you here, that has kept you here. And so you might ask yourself whether your why has changed or evolved. So here's what I noticed over the summer, and that is that nothing has changed about fundamental human needs. We still wrestle with basic questions about life, especially when we encounter life's changes and challenges. We still want to celebrate with others when something joyful has occurred. When we choose to join in partnership with another and form a new family union, or when a child comes into our lives. I noted this summer the hunger in people for this sort of connection, the eagerness for it, the eagerness to experience with others something beyond the day-to-day of work of our lives, or even the day-to-day of all the things we find ourselves just doing. Ultimately, what I learned is that we are, no matter where I was, deeply interconnected, whether we are conscious or unconscious about it. And so, as far as my question to my mother many decades ago about why did God make me and why are we here, my other question was, and what are we supposed to do about it? That's probably what really irritated her. I still have that question. What are we supposed to do about it? I actually feel that's what you are always answering. We are the what we are supposed to do about it. But I have to tell you that I'm now comfortable with the mystery. I did not succumb to my mother's answer. I'm just comfortable with the mystery that we are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all the other dust, the dust that makes the world. May it be so, my friends. We are the dust. Amen and ashe. And so, yes, you can. Come on up, guys. every week. By the way, I saw, I think it was Peter pulled out the hymnal. Somebody pulled out the hymnal. Those sources are in the front pages of the gray hymnal, so you can always take a look at them. I think it's important that we do. So every Sunday, as we gather in community, we bring our gifts, our talents, and ourselves here. And it takes a lot to create a community such as this. And so as the greeters come forward, we will take up this morning's offering, which will go to Life Skills Foundation. It is part of our Generosity Sunday. And so if you would come forward, and if you do not have material on your person, such as checks or cash, you may go to ERUUF.org and click Give on the top menu. There's also a card in the pew rack at which you might point your device, which will also lead you directly to the giving place on the website. Gather together. We give thanks for all of the blessings and gifts of our beloved community. And so now Wendy will lead us once again in song.
Please rise in body or spirit, and we're going to sing Come and Go With Me, number 1018 in the teal hymnal, and the lyrics are on the screen. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. One more time. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound.
This morning are called Redwood Dharma by the poet Laura Grace Weldon. Redwood trees have lived on the earth for 240 million years, and Homo sapiens about 200,000. And Laura Grace Weldon writes, despite massive size, old-growth redwood root systems are shallow. Trees reach 350 feet tall, yet don't topple in the strongest winds. Each one's roots interlace with its neighbor's roots, creating a vast network of support unseen on the surface. They hold on for 1,000, 2,000 years, maybe more, all the while showing us how to grow up. May it be so, my friends. Go in love and go in peace.
coming in next Sunday. No, just kidding. Now, Johann set the standard pretty high for